Good evening, Kyber Cave family.
Woo, she's back.
I am back. I've returned.
I'm sure
I
that makes Say
came.
Wong's heart beat much, much faster
Oh,
now.
say one can shush. Yes, for those who did not know, I was on vacation, but I still work when I'm on vacation. So like all the editing and stuff that gets happening on the show right now is me still doing it in the background. But I went to go see my sister on the East Coast. So I did watch a show and I watched the whole thing and I tuned around, I was here for it in a sense.
And we want to thank the
Um,
captain for doing a great job stepping in last week for Miss Mez there.
and do you still not have controls,
I still don't. You know what? And I'm actually logged in, which is
sir?
weird. Like
Okay,
I have
well,
to ask you about that because I thought logging in would get me controls again, but I have
it
no controls.
should.
Yeah, I have no controls. That
But
shouldn't
Aiken
surprise
Saber
anybody in the
Academy
audience.
Dragon's Den is here, so hello. And there's Say Wong. Mr. Burger is here, so hello, Mr. Mike Burger. How are you?
What is
And
going
thank you
on?
very much, Aiken Saber. That's very sweet. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be back. I have also been like I was also sick for like 4 weeks, and it kind of extended into my trip, unfortunately. But in the last few days, I finally like started feeling normal and better. So
Mhm.
I think I'm actually gonna finally get back to like full. The band is
Thanks.
okay too.
Thanks. I
Um,
appreciate it,
I'm
Tony.
finally gonna get to back to like more full force and to jumping back into editing and everything because we've got all of our new show, um, the new order coming up, and I haven't been able to edit as much as I had hoped because I've been feeling so awful. But I'm much better. And how are you this week, sir?
I am good. It's been an interesting weekend. I went to Santa Cruz yesterday for a Honda Element meetup. And you know what was really weird? I just only because I had to tell Steven and it's just I found it so weird. So while I'm sitting there, I'm like ear hustling and listening to other people talking, and I hear this
Mm-hmm.
woman talking to this other man and mentioning that she has a Mini Cooper. And I was like, and he's like, "Oh, I have a Mini Cooper as well." And I was like, "Ma'am, I have a Mini Cooper." So there's like a huge subset of people that have both a Honda Element and Mini Coopers. I guess it's just a thing.
I guess.
They go hand in hand. They're peanut butter and jelly. So, anyways, I went to a Honda meetup, and what's so funny is I've been okay. So I have this Honda Element, and so I've been watching all the channels on YouTube channels on how to mod your car, and like because there's like hella people that live in a Honda Element. That's like that's their house. Um, and
That's
so
interesting.
by watching all these channels, I'm getting to know a lot. What's up, Mixdorio? I'm getting to know a lot of these YouTubers, and then I see them at the at the roundabout, and I was getting all fanboy. We talked to like Star Wars celebrities. We talked to all kinds of famous people, but I was getting like all fanboy over these Honda Element YouTubers.
Excuse me, Say Wong. My dream car was a Honda Odyssey, which I had. So hush. And hi, Raph.
Oh, hey,
Raph is in the chat
Raph.
now. Yes,
Miyagi's
I
in the
we
house.
actually we were a Honda family until we both of us got rear-ended and we lost both of those cars.
Oh,
We're fine, thankfully.
Hondas
The
are
hardest, the
fantastic.
scariest part was just my kids were in my Odyssey with me when we got totaled. But
Eesh.
everyone was fine. Hi, Kevin Hogan. Van going to be starting a new show about converting cars into spaceships like Star Wars. And then Mike Berger here, he's a Honda Pilot driver. So, ha, Say Wong, stuff it.
I would put a lift kit on my Mini Cooper. Nice. Put some big old tires on them.
No thanks. All right, well, guys, guess what the first thing we do here?
Nerdy
Our
news.
nerdy news. And so the first for the nerdy news today, and yes, it has been a while, mixed Oreo. Hondas were great back in the day. They're still pretty good now. So the first story you have is a disciple of the Sith, Asajj Ventress's legacy lightsaber returns with a limited box edition set. It looks really cool. I took a look at the article. It just looks really neat. And if you guys want to tune in to get more information about it, I just posted the link into the chat. And if you're
Where,
watching the upload, you can actually find it in the description below.
where would
It
those
looks really
be
neat.
returning to? Back to like Disneyland or something? Or
Let me double check the thing here.
just so
It
you know,
says
that is not a
fans.
Kyber Cave
Okay,
saber.
no, it is not a Kyber Cave saber. No, for those who need to know, it is not a Kyber Cave saber. Uh, Senior manager merchandising at Disney, so it is Disney. Yes.
Okay, okay.
So you can get that probably at Galaxy's Edge inside Disney. And check that out if you're interested. Saj Ventress, for those who don't know, was the main antagonist, one of the main antagonists in Clone Wars, and she's been kind of regularly an antagonist for the heroes in that series.
And for us at Kyber Cave, we actually have her other lightsaber, the one that's a yellow lightsaber later. So
gotcha.
So there's no confusion for the fans out there.
And then next on our nerdy news is there's a new book, The Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire, to explore the Imperial regime exclusive. Guys, this is a really interesting look. Now, here's the moment for the thing from the article that I really wanted to read you. StarWars.com is excited to reveal Star Wars, The Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire, a new book from DK Publishing that promises to examine the intricacies of Imperial rule. Written by Dr. Chris Kempshall, a historian and co-author of Star Wars Battles That Changed the Galaxy, it will explore the dark times from stories across mediums, including movies, games, series, books, and comics, with chapters covering every aspect of the Emperor's regime. So if you like that deep dive into the political aspect of especially the dark side, you might want to check this out. It comes on July 9th.
I love that the author is, first off, a doctor and a historian. And has chosen
right.
to talk about the history of a fictional franchise.
Yeah. So if you want to check that out, I just popped it down below in the chat as well. Also, again, if you're watching the upload, it is in the description under the nerdy news section. So that is all down in there for you, and that is your nerdy news.
And I would like to take this time really quick to remind everybody, if you have not done so already, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. We don't get any comments other than while the live show is happening. I don't know how that's separated. It's kind of a weird thing, but with comments, that gets us more in the algorithm, that gets this show out to more and more people. But don't forget to share as well. We are, I believe, 49 people away from the next giveaway, I believe. We just picked up a couple yesterday and today. And that saber, 49 more people, and we will be giving away a saber. So help us do that. And another way you can help us out is by going over to kybercave.com. We've got a ton of new sabers, a lot of great prices. In fact, our prices are better for NeoPixel sabers than a lot of other price websites by at least $50 or $60. So that is, if you can use an extra $50 or $60 and you need a NeoPixel in your life, head over to kybercave.com. Do not forget about KCP merch, where you can get fantastic shirts like this, or I don't have a water bottle or anything with me. All kinds of merch for KCP, and we do have a Patreon and Discord as well. We got all kinds of stuff.
Yes, if you would like to check out the Discord, down below we have our link tree in the description. You can find our Discord, you can find our merch store, you can find all sorts of fun there. And then you can also go to patreon.com and for as little as $1 a month, support us.
That's right.
And then if you guys didn't know, unfortunately, the threshold to be considered for the top 2 tier sabers has come and gone. So if you sub at the highest tier now, you will not be eligible for the May the 4th drawing.
But you will start accumulating time for the next one. So, for next year's.
Yeah, exactly. And hi, Duran. He says, hello, my Kyber Cave family.
Good to have you back always.
Gotcha. All right. So next, guys, we have James Kaiser, our producer, who does Flow the Show and gives us a really cool segment of some kind of visually mesmerizing piece. And this one is Nicola Colleoni. I'm so glad I got that right. Yes, and he's got basically he's got a couple bow staffs with fire at the end of each end. It's really interesting. So thank you, James Kaiser, for providing this flow of the show. You can actually go and find Nicola's Instagram in the description below. So enjoy.
I have not seen the segment yet, but if it is a fire spinner, I'm willing to bet $10 they have long hair. It just seems to be a thing with the fire spinners.
Well, that's fine. Night Vision here in our comments says, I'm a fire spinner and I have a shaved head. But Van was correct about this fire spinner having a little bit longer hair.
It was not as long as I expected, but it was definitely fluffy with volume.
Fluffy with volume. Oh my goodness. This is what my hair looks like when I wake up in the morning. Fluffy with volume.
Well,
hello,
hey,
Night Vision.
Night
Welcome to our chat.
If you have not been on the show, maybe we can get some video from you. Maybe you can be featured in the flow section as well.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want Night Vision, you can get in contact with us at kybercaveproductions@gmail.com to get that sort of thing sorted.
Or directly through Facebook.
Yes, or directly for Facebook is just fine. Now that I have access back to it. All right, guys. Now it's time for the moment of the show where our guest comes on. Van, take it away.
Woohoo! The artist that we have on tonight, I hadn't known a lot about previously, but of course, this referral came to our great friend of the show, Mr. Tony Negron. And anybody that Tony suggests, I will always take a look at. And this man is quite a talented writer, producer, comic book artist. In fact, we were just talking about some cons that he's been doing lately. I am very excited to learn more about him. Please welcome, I'll introduce Mr. Jason Conley.
Wow. What's going on?
Hello. How you doing tonight?
Hey, doing pretty good. How you doing?
Oh, man, life is beautiful. First off, I want to thank you for staying up past your bedtime to hang out with us here.
Yeah, I should be in bed about 7 hours ago.
Oh, man, 7 hours ago. That's the life of a true artist.
Sure.
So why don't you let for people that may not know about you and your company, just give them a little brief rundown of who you are and what is it you do. There's Aiken Saber Academy right there. The dragon.
He already is asking about the mailbox incident. I was telling him about that.
That only speaks to his character.
Exactly. Oh man, no, Phase 68 Comics started up almost a little over 2 years ago, and it kind of blew up super fast. It started with me just wanting to hit that bucket list and publish a comic book because I've been a comic book fan. I even own a comic book store back in the 90s.
Wow.
And yeah, and before I go, yes, I'm on the East Coast, and I do sound like this in real life. I know my voice is very rough. I've heard it. It makes it very hard to talk sometimes. So, but anyway, I just had to get that out because at least one person asks every time I do an interview. But no, I'm a huge comic book fan, and tons of useless knowledge of comic book fandom. Pop culture, Star Wars stuff, you name it. And speaking of Star Wars, don't let me forget to tell you all about our May the 4th thing. I wrote a story. A friend helped me get it published, and it took off like crazy. And I've had stories upon stories that I wrote that I initially wanted to make movies out of. One of them was a miniseries, The Adventures of J.P. Cummings, and it was meant to be a filler between some books, but I've put it out there, and it ended up being our bestseller and our biggest one. And then Netflix got a hold of it, and they wanted to option it for a movie. So we got the movie posters made. We got some funding, and we have everything going. But the strike took over, and it put it on pause. But now that the strike's over, we started our own production company called Fate 68 Productions, and we got some Be Your Own Heroes Productions, who Ron Rossman is a director. He does a lot of horror films. He's going to help us get the trailer done so we can resubmit it and get that movie going. And then next thing you know, I would go to cons and just start meeting some. And one of the guys I met, I don't know if people know about Greg Bo Watson. He used to work for Marvel, Zenescope, DC. Does amazing artwork and has done a lot of the stuff. He he and I paired up, and we got 7 artists now. Mike DiCarlo, I don't know if a
Wow.
lot of familiar with him. He's from DC. He's the one that did the first appearance of Lobo and did all the Batman Death in the Family comic books and stuff.
Oh
He
wow.
worked. Yeah, he works for us now. I got one of the guys that worked for Frank Frazetta. He's like 70 something years old and did all the. You'll like this guy, Sean Joyce. He draws the stuff like Frank Frazetta and worked with him back in the day. But the
Wow.
biggest thing that you guys are going to like about Sean Joyce is that he was the original guy that did all the. Back then, they did backgrounds were made the matte paintings,
Right, right,
or he
right.
did. He worked for ILM and George Lucas and did all the Empire Strike Back matte paintings.
Oh, like the snow
So,
scenes.
yeah, he did all that. He did Willow, that, and Star Trek. And he contacted us after he saw one of our books and asked if he could be a part of it. And he does comic book covers for us now. And
Oh my gosh.
he did this. You want to talk about a guy that's got history on him? He's done it since the '60s and worked with some of the greatest. And the stories he's told me, I was like, I could write a book over it. Like, sent me he did George Lucas. Told me a story about how George Lucas asked him to do a bust of him because he could do sculpting.
Right.
And then he said he did it, and he showed me the bust pictures that he did for George Lucas. And then he said the story was George Lucas all of a sudden said, you know what, I appreciate it, and paying for his time, but he just felt it was too egotistical to have a bust of himself in his office, and he said that he just never took it, so he has it sitting with him now. So I thought
Right.
that was pretty neat
Wow.
too.
So
But
you're like
he
kind of
were
like the Quentin Tarantino of comic books. So you went from Quentin Tarantino was just the guy working at a video store, and he just started watching lots of movies and seeing what people were renting, and all of a sudden he decided he wanted to make movies. Sounds like what
yeah
happened to you.
yeah it kind of, like I said, it started as a bucket list with that one issue, and I can't go to sleep at night. My brain is constantly writing, and it's wrote a whole universe where every single story and issue we got, they all connect like a Marvel universe. So when
Right.
one series ends, it'll pick up in the next. So I got 7 different titles going with 7 different artists. We've got a movie production company all within 2 years. Greg
Wow.
Moe has been a big instrumental plot in this, and he says he's been doing it since the '90s. He goes, I just never seen anybody do what you. And I said, well, it's because every time somebody tells me no, I do it. Like,
Right,
when I wanted
right.
to do it, yeah, my parents were like, do you really want to do that? And I'm like, yes.
Yes.
And they go, and they said, it's silly. And I was like, well, thank you for saying that. So, and the funny
How
thing is then, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, how surreal is it to have like to own a comic book store and know all these stories and love all these stories, and now you're working with some of the people that you used to read their books.
I, it's weird because it's not hit me. It's weird to say that because people always say, man, that it would be great. But until you're like in it,
Right.
you don't. I see, like, it takes me a minute. I'll sit and I'll talk to like some of the guys. Like one of the pictures you popped up of me sitting, that's Michael Copen. He's one of my buddies, and I usually see him, and we are talking about doing some movies and stuff together. And he's getting ready to wanting to do some comic book line with me, but he started with One Tree Hill, but he's notoriously known for the Blue Power Ranger, Scorpion King 2, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he and I been getting together, and we got some more stuff we're planning on doing, and then of course I've got a horror movie I'm filming in April with Be Your Own Productions, where I'll be doing something with them.
That's
This it's
amazing.
really it's not kicked in, and sometimes I have to sit at home when I'm stressed out, trying to get all the work and the stuff, and I'm sitting down in my little man cave doing writing, and I'll find myself starting to complain. I have to stop myself and say, wait a minute.
Look where
Well,
you're
you
at.
literally have nowhere to go. You get to sit here and write books and stories, and you're complaining you've got to be on the set of Stranger Things in a week. And I was like, you need to get your crap together and stop complaining. And so
Wow.
it just, like I said, it doesn't hit me. And
It's funny with a lot of artists when you hear about a an overnight hit. It's they say overnight usually takes 10 years, but for
yeah,
you it literally was kind of a a flash in the pan? I mean, I'm sure you couldn't have expected any of this.
Didn't expect it, but that's usually how I am. When somebody tells me I can't do something, I usually everything I did was because one, I wanted to, but then other people didn't. Like my folks, my mom and them, they love me to death, but every idea I've ever had, they was like, I think one time they said, when you going to stop playing with the comic books and the acting and get a job maybe at like Home Depot or something. I was like,
Right.
I was like,
I own a lightsaber store, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, and the thing, yeah, and like my mother, she's like, whenever I get asked to go like do these appearances and stuff at the cons and all, she's got to watch our kids, and she says, "Now where you going?" I said, "I got an appearance," and you may. I said, "Yes." I said, "I hate to break this to you, Mom, but I was on the red carpet for Wakanda Forever. You don't watch. She's never watched a movie I've been in, a TV show. She's never watched me on the red carpet. She's never seen my interviews." And I'm
Right.
like, I'm not playing here. She goes, "When are you gonna stop playing around?" I was like,
Right.
"What? Playing with what?" So that's like it blows my mind how they don't take it seriously, but that's my
Right.
drive. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna keep playing then if that's what you think I'm doing. So I'm having a great time. I'm not going to wake up looking at something I don't want to do for the rest of my life and say, God, that really sucked. So, but
Well, let me back up a little bit. When you worked on your first story, are you an artist by nature? Like, is art something that you've done for a long time,
um,
or?
yeah, and that's kind of is contradictory to what I said earlier because growing up, when I was in sixth grade, I actually posted some of these on some of my social medias. I had a little comic book that I would draw and take to school and sell to some of the kids. I had my own comic book company, and then I had two guys that were my friends at school, and I would have them drawing some of the other issues, and my mom kept some of them. So I was always an artist and drawing,
Wow.
and
And
she
an
was always,
entrepreneur.
yeah, she kept pushing me to be an artist, and I think that's what made me not want to pursue it because she was pushing me into something I wasn't really wanting to do. And I stopped drawing, but I was always a writer. And I started picking up the pencil again shortly and started doing it. And Greg Bo's been helping teaching me get back into it, but I haven't published any of my own art.
Mm.
I just do all the writing, and that's good enough for me. I'm not ready to turn over the writing to anybody else. Everybody else says, "Do you want any help with writing?" I'm like, "Not yet. This is my baby. I gotta hold it."
Wow. I always find that amazing with comic book writers because well, first off, I used to be a stage performer. I used to do a spoken word poetry, so we'd write our own poetry. But it's one thing to write one short, small story, but to write a story that is going to be continuing for years to come, and thinking about, well, how do I make this episode, the next chapter, just exciting and keeping people in. That is truly a talent.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but it comes with like being so ingrained in the comic book nature and the company and everything growing up because everybody comic books. The reason that a lot of us like we gravitate toward like your Star Wars or your certain comic books titles is it makes us feel good inside. It's that we can relate it to something in our lives that made us happy, like a song or something. And so I remember the stories I read, the art I saw, the way it was that people really like, and I told myself, you know what? That comic books have completely gone off the rails. So I'm going to go back to the way it was in the 90s with good stories, good art, consistency, not taking like one character and making him into 18 different characters with 20 different volumes of the same book that people's like, what the heck's going on? Spider-Man over
Right.
here, Spider-Man there. What is it? So that's confusing. So I just went back to the basics, created good stories. And whenever somebody buys something at the convention or something, they want to get those rare variants to it. And I'm like, that's fine. I'll sell that to you, but I'm also going to give you a free direct edition because I want you to read the book.
Right.
And everybody gets a reader's copy because I say, read the book. And they read it and they're hooked. I may be partial because I wrote it, but they buy it and they're like, man, when's the next one? When's the next one? And that's why I give it away to them. I was like, read it, just read it. It'll make you feel good to know that there's somebody out there that's taking the writing of comic books seriously and not putting out a bunch of crap with a bunch of stupid nonsense with, if for lack of better terms, TNA books with no story and making
Right.
all this money. And that just annoys me. It's not now. I'm not saying that we don't have like the mature content, but it plays a part in the story. It's just not gratuitous stuff. I've
Right.
seen so much junk out there these days that it's just, and I just like it's never gonna get anywhere.
Right. Right.
It's never going to gain value. We just had our first issue of J.P. Cummings graded 9.6 sell at Heritage Auctions for $550. So
Wow.
that there just puts us in the books and gives us a baseline of value. So it's like
Right.
you won't see. I'm not even going to start naming titles. I'm not going to do that, but certain independent companies that keep recycling their character and that does
Yes.
no stories, you're not going to see those do that because there's nothing to it. But
Right.
this
Right.
one,
Right.
is about to be in the movie. It's got a good story. People liked it, and the
Well,
limited print of it, so it's
we
sold.
we have a comment over here I want to get to, and then I'm going to come back. I got a few more questions about kind of this line in general. But Mez says something about a Kickstarter. Do you have something you want to tell people?
We have probably our biggest Kickstarter launch right now. It's called Living Dead Girl. And those of you that are familiar with Rob Zombie will know that name sounds familiar.
Right.
And so I'm not going to deny or admit to the name connecting, but it is a cool story about a character that fits into the universe of Fate 68 that mixes in with all the other titles. But the cool thing is that Greg Bow, when he used to work at Zenoscope and Marvel, he created these characters that he never published or let people see in back in the 90s, and he's never done it since. It's been over 30 years. He
Wow.
actually gave this image to me, and I took the image and created a story behind it and named it. So this is actually, he is a co-creator. This is one of his characters he did in the 90s, and he let us do it. And we're the first ones to ever do anything for 30 years. And it's really popular now. He's got a special cover coming out that May the 4th. Now that I can bring that up, that'll have early sales on this Kickstarter. He's done one of my character or our characters as a female stormtrooper variant cover for Living Dead Girl issue 1. It's going to be released next week, pre-sales. I'll have the inked and penciled version, but not the full color version for a preview. But he's only selling these at an appearance we're going to be doing in Dalton, Georgia on May the 4th for Free Comic Book Day.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're releasing them that day. But for Kickstarter, for the last 10 days, you'll be able to get this as an early bird buy, because after that, the only way to get them is if you order them from the store or come up and see them on Dalton. But yeah, it's going to be something. It's something I've already seen the pencil version. He won't let me release until he inks it.
And for everybody
It's pretty
in
bad.
the audience, again, along with all your other information, but there is a link in the description down below for that Kickstarter if you are interested in being a part of that and being a part of history. That is absolutely amazing. I want to ask you, going back to comics, you were referencing comics of the 90s, and for people that are into comics, they know that was kind of like like the next silver age. There was a very special time about the 90s in comic book history. Do you think comic books are as relevant and valid now as they were in the 90s? With all the iPads and the other devices and things like that. When we were, when I was younger, we didn't have iPads and cell phones, right? So comic books was your escape.
Well,
go ahead.
Yes and no. I can tell you now, a comic book never shut down on me, ran out of power. and never glitched, and
Right.
it gained value. And no matter how old or how long you had that comic, you never had to update it to see it. You never had to buy
Right.
the next. You never had to buy the next updated laptop or iPad to read it. It was always there.
Right.
So the today's just it's and plus the independent launch is ridiculous now because it was starting in the 90s but kind of died out. And as anybody that knew and lived through that time, comic books got flooded real bad and Marvel was going bankrupt. But
Right.
it's picked back up. But it's all about content. I mean, like I said, if you have good content and you've got a good story and you've got good people behind you, then yeah, it'll hold its value. It'll hold a place in comic book history and a legacy. But if you just, I mean, yeah, there's tons. Like I've started a magazine now called Fate Magazine, and we're on issue 3, which actually is kind of like mimicking some of the old Wizard magazines, because
Nice.
people are telling me they miss Wizard with the casting things they used to do, wish
Mhm.
casting and all that. So I brought it back. I do a casting of certain movies. We have people that go out and they go through and they get all the stats for all the independent, and it's only for independent books, and they have the top 10 best independents for the month. What to look for in the future. It's not just our stuff, it's everybody's. I get
Right.
beat out
Right.
by Lady Death every freaking time they do it because Lady Death, of course, is still the biggest seller. And I'm like, am
Right.
I ever going to get number one? They're like, not yet, you ain't. I was like, I own the company. They're like, so that's not what you hired us to do. We're being
Right.
honest. So I was like, all right. So yeah, it's called Fate Magazine, and it's been doing really well. And man, it brings back that whole Wizard feel that you used to have when you buy it, and it's caught on. And actually, somebody in California has ordered a whole bunch of them. They get them in their store and sell them now.
Nice. All right,
Yeah,
so
we
we have a
sell
we have a
those.
question here for the audience. It says, "Are there common pitfalls of bad content that you see companies continue to make regardless over and over?"
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to say it, and I've said it on before in other podcasts because I do not stray away from my personal opinions, and I don't apologize for it. But one in particular that I see on there called literally the only name of it, boobs. That's it. It's called
Wow.
boobs, and it somehow continuously uses AI and still sells tons of money because people are buying it. Not like you can't just make your own, and it's never going to be worth anything. It's very bad art of just female characters with their boobs out. That's it. That's crap to me.
Right.
And it's just somebody who doesn't care about the companies, doesn't care about the future of comic books, that is just trying to make a fast buck on the people, and I don't like that. Like if you go on our Kickstarter for Living Dead Girl, I think right now we probably got the cheapest prices of any Kickstarter coming, and because it's like I know I want people to get it, and if I don't make tons of money off of it, but just pay the bills and get through, then I'm okay with it. I'm not here to be a millionaire. I'm here to get back what that used to be right, good stories and good
Right.
prices, and yeah, this I'm battling and I'm constantly battling every time I see up there that people are selling, you know, sex books, boobs, and this, and just horrible crap that I'm like, what?
Wow.
And why do you? I don't understand that. It drives me nuts. I hate it. I hate it with a passion, and I'll talk against it all day. And if one of them publishers come on down and ask me about it, I'll tell it to their face. You're not in it for anything else but the money, and that's it. You don't care about your customers.
Right.
That's it.
Right. Let me ask you, when you wrote your first story, you were saying that it was kind of a bucket list thing. Did you have any idea that it explode like wildfire right off the bat, or was it just something you had to get off your chest regardless? Or did you know that, oh man, as soon as you wrote it, this is going to be a banger, everybody's going to want this one?
Well, when I first wrote it, of course, I personally liked it because it was the story I came with. But as far as the popularity goes, yeah, it kind of took me by surprise because it was scary. Because then I was thinking to myself, like, crap, this took off. I got no choice now. I have to do it. I
Right.
got to keep going, because people don't want to know what happens, and so it did that. It spawned a sequel. It spawned. I'm already on issue 5 of our main flagship. I'm on. I got another, and people have been ripping off my stories now, and I guess people say imitation is flattering, and I said not when they take it and try to make it their own. It ain't. So,
Right. So
but
when you first started, I mean, obviously before people knew what the story was, before they knew who you were, when you first started off, were you doing it the typical way in the artist alley? I know a lot of comic book artists. That's kind of where they try to get their audience. They try to go out to the artist alleys at Comic Cons, and try to draw people in to get them, reading their book. How was it for you when you
um,
got started?
we didn't rely on cons. We used a lot of internet and word of mouth, local comic book stores. Um, to be honest, the reason I started in the artist alley with cons because I've never really had my own booth, and I did it because the tables were cheap. That was it.
Right.
They were cheaper than vendor tables. Now, now when we go, usually we get asked to they ask me to do an appearance somewhere, and I'll have them make sure they have tables like in a vendor section or something for my comic book company, which it's grown so much now that they give us these large spaces. But our next one is May the 9th in Florence at the PowerCon.
Right.
And we set up there with Gregbo, and we have this big old large section where we set it up. And yeah, I mean, we did Artist Alley for a little while because, like I said, it was the cheapest route to go and just kind of be there. But now I don't necessarily always have to go to the cons a lot. I go to some of the bigger ones,
But
but
in the beginning, though, this is where it's challenging for me to visualize. But in the beginning, before anybody knew who you were, before they knew your character, they knew your stories. How do you get somebody to go, hey, and why don't you put down that Spider-Man comic and read mine instead? A lot of times, especially with comic book, people are loyal to their stories, so it's hard to get them to try something new, especially when you're an artist that nobody's ever heard of with the character nobody knows. How did you get that initial batch of people to get excited about your product?
uh, it's marketing. I mean, I've always been a marketer. I mean, that's kind of how I even got into acting. I was a cop for like 20 years, and you've got to be good at selling yourself if you're going to be a cop. And I just I would give a lot. I gave more away than I sold. Let's put it that way. And I just would want people to read it. And uh, a lot of it was on the internet, word of mouth spread, and meeting the right people. I met Greg Boat early when we started this,
Mhm.
and his popularity through Marvel, Zenoscope, and doing all the things he did, and introducing me to other people, just from that, and then him doing some books. It just he would spread it when he went to conventions. I had another outlet then. I would meet other people. And what, I'm not going to lie, I think it helped a lot that when I started acting and then I ended up in Wakanda Forever and Stranger Things, then it was a lot easier. I mean, I would take a book to Stranger Things set and Duffer Brothers. They love comic books. They literally love comic books. I mean, everybody says, "Hey, I got a cool idea. Here's a script. Read it," and they're going to be, "Oh, hey, throw it." You give them
Right.
comic books and don't tell them nothing. They read it. They come back. That was good. That should be an animated series. That should be a movie. That's how I
Right.
did it. I just like, "Hey, read this," and they liked it. And it's just feet to the grind and just kept moving and moving. It's like I push my stuff really hard and I give away more than I've sold, and just that's just it's just if you really dedicate it, man, that's what you do. You eat, sleep, and breathe it, and you do it.
Right. Right.
And that's just what I did. Getting to know, marketing to people, talking to people, um,
So you
putting
have
it out there.
another question here. Did I see you behind the character Val? Val, I'm guessing that's Marvel's Val. What's her name?
You're talking about Julie Louise Dreyfus.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Um, that's a funny story. The acting stuff kind of fell into my lap. That wasn't a bucket list. I mean, everybody was like, "Hey, that would be cool." And when I retired as a law enforcement officer, my wife knew I was just sitting around twiddling my thumbs, and she knew I'm a Halloween fanatic. I love Halloween. Michael Myers. That's just he's actually I've got some comic books they've drawn with him on it, and they were shooting the new Halloween movies, the ones they just did with Jamie Lee again, and they were doing the first one in Atlanta, and she signed me up to be an extra, and
Oh.
I was like, oh, that's cool. So I got a message that hey, we wanted you to come up be a cop. Go figure. One of the guys. So I show up and I'm looking around, and it ends up not being Halloween. I was on the set of Stephen, um, uh, horror movie guy that writes all the books.
Stephen King.
Stephen King, Mr. Mercedes show
Oh.
he did.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I never made it on screen, but I was there and I got to know them all, and I was just an extra. And then after that, I forgot what happened, but they were hurting for people at the time because I think then COVID was starting to creep in. And so I got a call from an agency that says, hey, we're having a hard time casting people. We saw you did some background extra work. Would you like to be like a supporting actor, or would you like to be one of the supporting cast members? You know, it's not going to be credited, but you'll be a supporting role and it'll be reoccurring. I was like,
Wow.
she's like, have you ever acted? And I went in, and when I went in for it, I was like, they said, have you ever done? I said, well, I was a cop for 20 years, and I had to make the people believe they weren't going to jail if they gave me the drugs. I said, so they chuckled and they go, you'll do. So I got offered a role on Stranger Things season 4, and at the same time, I got offered a role for Spider-Man 3 as one of the
Wow.
leads, and and they were filming at the same time, and I got the offers literally within 5 minutes between each other. And I looked at the wife, and I was like, I don't even have an agent. I know what to do. So she goes, well, what do you want? I said, well, I think Stranger Things would be a lot more fun. So I took it. They tried to kill my character off, and I really got upset. And I was like, no, I want to come back. And they kind of like did little things where I wouldn't get my face completely shown. And then I just got last week they asked me to come reprise my character, but I had to turn them down, which really sucks because I'm filming a horror movie in April around the same time that I already committed to. But then Disney called and they said, we are introducing a new character to be partners with Julia Louise Dreyfus's character, Val. You're going to be her partner and you're going to make your appearance in Wakanda Forever. And I'm like, oh, and they got, yeah, this is one that you might be in all the Marvel movies, like, you know,
Wow.
Thunderbolts and all that. And I was like, okay. They even had a figure of me that didn't make it into production. I got the prototypes and sold those suckers. And
Wow.
I went, okay. So I'll go up there and we shoot these big scenes. And the scene they used was cut by 4 or 5 minutes. They cut mine and her scenes like a lot because they said it was too humorous. They released a statement it was too humorous for the tone of the movie. Anybody
Mhm.
saw Wakanda Forever, everybody was getting killed.
Right.
So I didn't think the humor that me and her, our banter was going to fit it. So they cut it all, and it ended up being what it was. I made it into a Lexus commercial, I think, even, but that was all right. So, but it was a cool experience. I got to hang out with her and hang out with the director a little bit, and then they are starting to shoot Thunderbolts here soon, and I'm waiting to make sure that they're going to bring back my character for that. So I'm kind of locked into that. But
Wow.
the acting kind of just fell in my lap, and it kind of people are always like, so when I was like, hopefully not, because what's the problem is it takes away from me writing my books and promoting them. And they're like, really? You drive it? I was like, well, yeah, my passion is my books. The acting was
Right.
just kind of like, what am I going to do in between the writing? And
Right.
they're like, really? I was like, yeah. But it kind of helps, you know, when people say, hey, can you come make an appearance at the con? Okay, as long as you let me have tables for my book stuff.
Right.
So
Do you
yeah.
plan on acting? Are you going to be acting in your own Netflix show?
Uh, that I've gone back and forth on. I might make a little appearance in it, but I like to be behind the camera more than anything because I know what I want it to be. I know I got a vision, I've got a specific look, and I would more than likely if something needs to be filled in and they say I'll do it, I'll do it. But I would rather not be in it. I don't want to. I would rather stay out and let the people do their own thing and be able to direct it easier. I know Stallone does it, but that's Stallone. I am not Stallone. All right, I'm none of them. I'm not. So, yeah, no, I
what
don't
what
think that big of myself. But trust me,
what do you have? Do you have kids? Do you have you said you were
I
married. What
I
is your
got two.
family? What does your family think about this? You went from being a cop for 20 years, and all of a sudden you're at conventions and you're at Hollywood red carpets, and it's got to be
My wife loves it. Yeah, she's my biggest supporter. My kids, my son's 10. My youngest is 4, and he doesn't. The 4-year-old's not sure about it. The 10-year-old, I don't get it. I have, you can't see it, but I got they let me keep some of the props from some of the things like Stranger Things, Gotham Knights. I was in that, and I got to keep some of the stuff from Gotham Knights.
Oh wow.
And yeah, I'm not worried about going back to that one. Um, and some of the Wakanda stuff, and I got to keep my uniform from Wakanda Forever. And so my son, he has like show and tell every Friday at his school, and I was like, listen, I'll let you take one of the props from like either Stranger Things or Wakanda Forever to show them, but you got to be careful with it. And he's like, I'd rather take one of my Pokemon cards. I was
Right.
like, I just gave you the option to be the most popular kid in school. What the crap?
Right.
What? And he's
Believe
like,
me, I
no.
understand.
Hey, he's watched me on the shows and on like some of them, even like the Righteous Gemstones when I did 2 seasons of that, and I said that he would sit there and he'd be honest. I was like, "There's Daddy," and he's like, "Oh man," I'm like, "What?" I was like, "I guess all right, cool. Well, I
Believe me,
wish my dad did something good."
I have a teenager now. But I started this company when he was like 8, 9 years old, and we live in a small little town. So I have a lightsaber store, and we used to have a dojo. We used to have free saber battles on Saturday night. We are like the only thing there is to do in town, and like all his friends used to think it was so cool, but he could care less. He doesn't give a damn.
I, gue- I guess. I mean, that's kind of how I met Tony. Besides hitting his mailbox, yeah, I was leaving my house. He lives up the street, and I think I looked left instead of looking right, and I ran right over it and trashed it, and I had to get out, and I was like, man, crap. I went. I forgot where I had to go. I went and took care of errands and went and bought another mailbox and cement. And that afternoon, went up there and just started digging to replace it. And he came out and he's like, "Man, I can't believe you did this for me." I was like, "I hit your mailbox, man. That's my fault. You gotta let me take you to lunch." I'm like, "I hit your mailbox. I should be taking you to lunch." And then we started talking, and he was talking about the cons that he would go to, and I started talking about some of the cons, and he looked in and he started talking, and he said, "Well, what do you do?" And I told him a little bit, and he started Googling me and stuff, and he's like, "Holy crap, wow." Things like that, and invited me to come to his lightsaber academy, which was really cool. And that's how I met Tony, man.
Tony knows
I
everybody. Tony knows all
I
the cool
ran
people.
over his thing, man.
So now that everything is, I mean, it seems like things have happened faster than you've even had time to formulate a plan on what to do with things. It seems like things are just, flying at you, and you're just trying to, maneuver around. But your main focus is your comic book company. What would you like to do? Do you want to have several storylines? Do you want to be able to employ other artists, or have a big Marvel type company yourself, or what is your goal?
Yes, my goals never stop. I started where I see a certain, like, I know this is stupid, this is ridiculous. Greg tells me, bro, this dude's been doing it since the 90s. You've been doing it since 2 years ago. I'll look at like the income on a Kickstarter for Brian Pulido's Lady Death, and he's like 300,000. I look over at mine, I'm like, why am I not at 300,000? And Greg goes, come on, man, really? And
Right.
I'm like, that's my goal. I'm like, I want to beat the best. I'm going to be bigger than that. And I just say that in my head, and that's what keeps me driving to keep being better. I never say, oh, I'm good enough, I'm not going to need any more. Keep going and going. If I hit a goal, I gotta get another go. So that's what keeps me driving. And like I said, I got 7 artists now. One sitting here hitting me with messages telling me about some stuff that he started finishing on some work. And I'm good to the guys, and I take care of them, and they take care of me. That's what I mean. That's how I got Mike DiCarlo and Sean Joyce reached out to me, and Greg Bo, he's been good to me, and just being honest with these guys and teaching them,
Right.
treating them right. And yeah, I'm looking to take the production company and expand it to actually movies with this Be Your Own Heroes Productions, and doing a joint thing. I'm looking to do a headquarters here in my hometown of Aiken, and that's going to be like a main headquarters where we do like some productions and then make a little store and stuff and maybe some cons. And then, yeah, I want to be able to turn over some of the writing stuff. I want to be able to sit back. I see I may have started late, but I know, don't take this the wrong way, but I'm a fan of how Hugh Hefner started, with $800 and created a mogul. And
Right.
I just say, if people like that can do it, so can I. Stan Lee, all those guys,
Right.
the way they did it, I was like, there's no reason that, it doesn't even matter how old I get. It's like, I'm not going to sit back and say, well, there's no sense in doing it. I'm going to only live another 30 years. That's stupid. I'm not doing that.
Right.
And I just don't settle. I
You know,
really don't settle.
I had an idea a few nights ago. I'm going to give it to you. If you do anything with it and it works out for you, just cut me off a little chunk. But I've been thinking about when I was growing up, and I'm a bit of an old man now. But when I was growing up, I was in love with these choose your own adventure books. And I was thinking, I was like, how cool would that be in like a graphic novel? Because they were always books that you read, but like, how cool would that be in a graphic novel with like, or a comic book where you could choose your own adventure?
Yeah, I hate to break the news to you. I used
Oh
to read those
no!
too, and I actually have already pitched this to Greg Bone. We're going to do it. Basically, there's going to be a series where one book, one issue has the story, and then the story ends where it can go 2 ways. And if you want it to end a certain way, issue 2, you buy the issue 2 of the version you want it to be. And if
Oh,
you want it to go the other
nice.
way, you buy issue 2 of that version. There's a issue 2A and issue 2B. So you can say, well, I'd rather see this happen. I'm going to buy this version of it. Or no, I want
Right,
to see this happen. I'm going to buy this version of it. Or just buy them both. But yeah,
right.
I'm going to be where you can decide which issue to buy, and it gives you the ending that you actually chose to watch.
See, yours is
So
even better. I'm talking about one-off books. You've got whole story. Like, see, this is why I got to put it in the hands of a master. That is absolutely amazing. Where do you draw your inspiration from for these stories?
and well, the first one I did when I have to drive to my wife's state of Kentucky, that's 8 hours. So when I'm driving and I'm trying to focus, I'm driving, ain't nothing to do. I look at streets, signs, and I'll look at the exit signs, names, and stuff, and I start putting names together. It started with me like, okay, uh, that first 3 letters combined with this last three, that makes a cool name. The Satiana. Oh, that's cool. And then I start creating from that, and I was like, okay, now I got the names. What's a good story? I start with the story, and then I'm like, okay, that's a good story. Now I need to create this, and then just
That's
I
a
and sleeping.
that's a very Kaiser Sose way of putting a story together.
Yeah, it just starts flowing, and then I'll lay in bed and I'll have stuff just racing nonstop, and I'll sit up in bed and I'm thinking, all right, that's a good idea. And I'll write it down and I get up and I call Greg Bow and he's like, that's awesome. So then we just start collaborating and we come up with a whole story behind it. So
That
yeah,
is absolutely
if
amazing.
there's no story, there's no book. We're not going to put out a bunch of junk just to make a fast buck. That's not the point.
All right, all right. Is there anything and just to let you know, Jason, we only got a couple of minutes left. 40 minutes runs by so quickly. Um uh is there anything that, because it just sounds like you're getting to do so many different things that I can't imagine what else you would do, but is there anything that you have still on your bucket list that you want to get accomplished? I mean, I guess more artistically. I'm not talking about scaling Mount Everest or something like that.
Oh yeah, none of that crap's going to happen. Yeah, no. um, Man, I'm on the path of doing. I gotta say, I've done pretty much everything that I've always wanted to do, and I'm still doing, and I still got more to do, and I'm at a point now where I love what I do. I love writing. I love giving stuff back, and I want to bring back what a lot of these companies took from us. And I want to make comic books readable again. I want to make them enjoyable, and I want it to give a sense of good feelings and like, man, you remember, no matter what happens, even if we fail tomorrow, the cool thing is that my my company and the books that I put out are going to have a forever legacy. I mean, you can look at an independent comic book from the 80s, you can still find it and see the artists and that people that wrote it and did it. It's always going to be in the books. I'm in the books no
Right,
matter if I die tomorrow, I'm in the books.
right, right.
I made a mark and I'm happy with it, and I just want to keep making that mark.
That's incredible. I believe did McFarlane get his start through Spawn?
He started, actually, I just ordered one of his first books. He did a independent book called Street Fighter. It's a one of his real early 1983 cover books he did, and he started doing that. And what most people may or may not know, he did Felix the Cat, because if you look at a lot of his Amazing Spider-Mans that he did, he always had that Felix Cat clock, the one where the eyes went back and forth. He'd always
Yeah.
managed to put that in to his books, and that's where he started. So he didn't start with Spawn. He started way back doing some independent stuff, Felix Cat. Then he got his chance with Marvel, did some Amazing Spider-Mans. Then they gave him his own Spider-Man series and pissed him off. He left, helped start Image, and then Spawn came, and he's been with
Right.
Spawn ever since.
All right. Yeah, I
And
mean that
he
the
blew
90s was
up.
that time period where you had those independent artists where you actually knew who they were. It wasn't just
Hmm.
Marvel and DC. You started to see, Dark Horse and some of these other, and then those people became celebrities in their own right. That's you've got the
Yep.
resurgent happening right now.
Before that, artists didn't have any recognition for their books, but it was Image and that group of guys that fought the system and started their own that gave a face and a name behind the pictures that created. And yeah, you had your Jack Kirby's and stuff, but to really be a big celebrity and make it, those guys that started Image, like all of them, they're the ones that put a face with all that. So and like right now, the artists are the face and the celebrities. Unfortunately, us lonely writers, we're still kind of like down here on the totem pole. So people always ask me to sign the book and stuff, and I'm like, why? I think it'll ruin it. That's a beautiful book.
Oh.
I didn't draw it. I wrote it, and they're like, no, I was like, I'm not, I've refused to sign a lot of stuff. I'm like, I don't think I want to sign that metal copy. And give it to Greg, though. He drew it. Like, really? I'm like, yeah, you don't want my signature. People didn't want my signature for 20 years because I was giving it on tickets. They don't know why you want it now.
It's a whole different thing when you're not wearing the uniform.
Yeah, I guess.
Man,
So
Jason,
it's
I have had absolutely a fantastic time with you. Is there anything you want to leave with people? Again, for everybody in the audience, if you would like to find out more information about Jason, check out the description list. It's got links to your different. I don't know if she got you set up with your Instagram or whatever it is, but your different forms of communication that you left with our director will be there in the description box.
yeah.
Do you have any words you want to leave people with?
Well, if you do want to find out what we're doing, all the social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, it's all at Fate68 Comics with an X, Comix. You can just Google that and you'll find it. I do have like my personal ones that I have somebody set up for the acting, but there's not a lot of people on there following because I don't promote it that well, but just go for the comic book stuff. And do me a favor, man. If the art is great, let's read the story. Let's try to get comics back to where they used to be. Let's do it the right way. And don't forget to check out next week the Kickstarter for Living Dead Girl if you want to see that amazing May the 4th cover Greg Bo's doing. I tell you, you don't want to miss it. It's one of a kind.
Get
But I
over to that
appreciate it.
Kickstarter and let's get this thing launched, everybody. Jason Conley, I appreciate you. I'm thankful that you ran over Tony's mailbox so that we get the chance to do this interview. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys, and I appreciate your time. I hope to talk to y'all again soon.
All right, take it easy, my man.
See you, buddy.
Go to
Thank you.
bed. What? 49?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, 49.
Go away.
He was showing me our subscriber account. We are at 1649 right now.
Okay, so we need 51 subs, guys, and for our next Saber giveaway. So make sure to please share the channel, because all you have to do is when you show up, you make a comment, and you're entered into the giveaway on the night we do the giveaway.
That's right. I figured out this way. The easiest way to describe that to people is whenever you tune into our YouTube channel, if you see 00 in our numbers at the end, tune in that Sunday.
Yeah, so if Dragon Emperor's Graveyard, hello, welcome in.
Hello
yeah,
there.
in case you don't know, we do our giveaways on Saber Rattle. So like if we reach that 100 mark on the Wednesday, that following Sunday is when we do the giveaway.
Right.
And to qualify, you cannot have won a Saber, I think it's the previous 6 months, if I remember correctly.
Right.
You cannot be an employee of Kyber Cave Productions or Kyber Cave.
There's two.
I am one of them. Yes, there's two of them. Aside from Van, of course, who's just the owner.
I don't actually make money here. Everybody else does.
Yeah, exactly. No. And then let's see. I think it's it. If you can't come in to pick it up, you do have to pay for shipping, which is basic. Believe me, he's already got 6. Which, believe me, is worth it if you're getting a Saber for free. If you guys want different ways to help support us, you can go to kcpmerch.com and buy some merch. Just watch your channel and share it. You can go to the patreon.com/Kyber Cave Productions and you can help support us for as little as $1 a month. Mike Berger says, I haven't won yet. Probably send it to my daughter. Oh, that would be so cool. I would love that.
I can imagine.
And Drag
Mike's
Emperor's
got
Graveyard
like
says, what's up?
600 lightsabers.
Right. Anyway, so those are the different qualifications. You just can't have done those and then pay for shipping if you can't come and get it. You can also just go to kybercave.com. You can also just buy yourself a Saber if you can't win it or don't want to win it or don't want to wait
That's
to
right.
win it. So you can check it out there as well. And usually we do another segment right now. I could not find my Mad Libs, unfortunately. So I just want to give a reminder about the new show we have coming up, The New Order. Aubrey and her co-creator, Melody Mitchell, have made a really awesome RPG, and we have 5 episodes recorded right now that we are working on editing. She's actually coming over tomorrow to get some work done on it. And we're very excited because it is fun. There's some hilarious characters, and the way... It's really interesting because the way it kind of writes itself when you have different characters that each of you created and then they're in a scene together and you kind of see how they interact, and it's hilarious. And then I wanted to tell everybody last week, the week before last, I got to meet Graveyard. So that was pretty cool. Graveyard lives not far from where my 6-hour layover was on the way to New Jersey. So he actually came and picked me up and we had like it was like an hour and a half. That was it. He picked me up. We went to like some kind of food place and they had like 4 different kinds of foods. And we had like an early dinner and you could always use more, Matt. Hi, Matt. And then he dropped me back off at the airport and I left like an hour and a half later. So it was pretty cool to me. I wish it could have been longer, but that's just how life is. He lives
for
in
those
Chicago,
of you
so.
that have been our family here for a while, you may or may not know that I think a lot of people assume that we just all kind of live in the same town or we're all friends together. But we have like 6 producers on this show right now, and I think you and I are the only ones that could even be considered in the same town, even though technically I don't live in Vacaville.
So the only people who at least live in California that are on our show are you, me, and our occasional drag queen resident, Anthony, aka Rubik's Q Arcana. We're the only, then Aubrey.
And then
so
Aubrey's like 30 minutes away.
Yeah, but the 4 of us are in California, and The rest of everyone else, like Graveyard, is in Illinois.
John is in Illinois. Abilities
John
is
is
in
there,
Illinois.
formerly known as Force, who's AA Ron now. He is in Florida.
Frey
Which
is where?
Frey's in Schnikes. It's not Ohio, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
I think. So even though AA Ron is not part of the channel at this time, I feel like he's always part of the Kyber Cave Productions family. Either way.
Oh, you know what though? Kevin Hogan, who has recently, up until recently,
yeah, he's here.
But James Kaiser is not. So even on this show, one of our producers is in a whole nother state.
Yeah, everyone does live very far apart, Sewang. But that's just the cool thing about technology and being able to connect in a way from across the country and across the world that without this technology, you would not be able to. All right, guys. Well, that is the wrap up of our show. Don't forget to hit like and share and everything. Mezzo is planning to, I don't know why I'm speaking myself in third person. I plan to go back more into full force editing and getting some stuff done now that I am feeling a lot better. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Van wants to say something, I can tell. You don't even have to
one
hold
more
a finger
thing.
up, I know.
Well, I'm just proud of myself because it's not often that I know who our guests are like ahead of time. Usually I'm waiting till like I'll like let
Van's got people booked in March, y'all. What? When I saw that happening in my messengers, like I'm getting people for the future, I'm like, hang on a second. I'm not used to this.
But our guest that we have next week is actually, some of you may remember, but about roughly 3 weeks ago, there was power outs here in Fairfield, and we were Vacaville, and we weren't able to put on our show. We had a guest that was actually from Australia who has a saber school out there, Michaela von Riesen, will be on our guest. So if you want to learn about how they flow down below, definitely tune in next week. And the week after that
below. I'm dead.
I used to be a poet.
Gosh.
And then the other one, if you tuned in last week, we had Lady Fresno Deadpool.
Yes.
If you remember the Lego head that she had, the creator of that head will be on the show. So I'm excited for that one.
The Deadpools and I now follow each other on TikTok.
We know each other. See, if we get this weekend blender thing together, if we get a crew, you can go meet her this next weekend.
Yeah, that would I like that. That'd be kind of fun. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you so much for tuning in this week. You guys have a great week, and please watch out for more content coming your way. Finally, you have a lovely night. Bye, guys.
Mwah.
Is that a Jedi? Yeah, I think so. Is he getting closer? Honestly, I can't tell. I'm gonna try shooting him. Nice try. Huh. Well, it's just, maybe I need to clean a little bit. There's something wrong with this thing? There shouldn't be. Maybe there is. Oh, come on. Maybe it's our helmets. Wait, where is he?